Iyer, welcome to the Plant Yourself podcast.
Happy to be here, Howard. How are you doing today?
Very well. I'm excited to learn about houseplants. I don't know if you can see my office background. You're not going to get a picture of the whole thing, but you can see one side of my face is much lighter than the other. I have three huge south-facing windows, and every time I bring a plant in here, it dies.
Why? South has the most light.
Yeah,
it gets in the most. Yeah.
It's the water thing.
Like, are they tropical? Do you have tropical ones there?
No, I just have dead ones. Whatever. You're gonna help me figure out what plants to put in here that are not, like, if I go away for the weekend or for 3 days and I come back and they're not lying limp. Like, I don't know how a dead plant can like look at me accusingly, but they do. So maybe we can get to that. But so I have a podcast called Plant Yourself, and I talk about eating plants and I talk about how plants can help the environment, but I had never talked about indoor houseplants. So when we got in touch, I was really excited to hear like what the latest is. Like, is there actual research on it? What are some good ones? Where do you get them? How do you take care of them? And also for your website is just gorgeous. And I was like, oh, there's like aesthetics here. Like I could actually like make people happy by being in this space because of plants. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this.
First of all, thank you so much, Howard, for inviting me to the podcast today. Mm-hmm. It's my pleasure to be here. And like you said, absolutely, just having a plant in your home, in front of your eyes, like I have a couple of ones behind me, and it just calms me down so much. If I talk about a little bit about my personal journey, how I got started with houseplants, I was basically a corporate professional working for 14 years in the field of HR, human resources, all across Canada, and also in a little bit in the US and India. And it all actually started when my daughter, she was 4 years old, and she got started, with frequent allergies, nasal congestions, with all the frequent traveling, because I was traveling a lot when I was working. So what I would do is I would tag my daughter along with, in my travel. So that would mean obviously a lot of impromptu trips, weather changes. As adults, sometimes we are, good with adjusting with all of this, but kids not so much. With all that, when it happened in the beginning, I was, going to my doctor's visit and everything, and it was coming up as like hay fever, allergic rhinitis, which I'm sure you would associate with, pretty much happening from, July to the September, October, that the fall seasons basically. But then it started happening around the year. And as a mother, I was like really, really worried about this because she was constantly on inhalers. Imagine a 4-year-old kid on inhalers throughout the day. And there were a lot of medications that she was going through. And honestly, that's when I started thinking. I spoke to the doc and I started thinking, what can I do? In place of all those medications, inhalers, is there anything natural that I can, introduce into our lifestyle, introduce into our house, maybe to make it a little bit better, at least alleviate the symptoms, if not make the entire thing go away. Mm-hmm. And Howard, I have to tell you, I started, it's all small. The first thing I did was I identified all the things that I have in my house, which had a lot of fragrances in them. And in the beginning, I was a total novice at that. I didn't understand which ones, were
like
inhaling,
what?
like, VOCs, volatile organic compounds, that are actually released from chemicals when you're using a particular, let's say, an air freshener, or you're bringing a particular cleaning liquid into the house. And
so things that smell nice, like products that you would buy that smell nice, that were made in a giant factory somewhere, there's a cost to those chemicals getting up into your
Absolutely.
nose.
Absolutely. It's another thing, using it once a day, or when you are surrounded by so many stuff, so many things filled with chemicals throughout the day without even knowing it, you know. Uh, and slowly when I started replacing all that stuff one by one by more of a DIY product, I started making a lot of stuff in house using more natural stuff like essential oils. Then I started adding different things, you know. For example, one thing, I don't know if you know about it or not, since you are in more into the food space. There's something called kadha in the Indian Ayurvedic, diet.
How do you
It's
spell that?
actually it's called KADHA. It's
K
called card
K K
KADHA.
A. Okay. Kada.
It's actually a super wonder liquid. It's made out of boiling ginger. You take a big piece of ginger and you add a bit of holy basil to it, holy basil leaves,
Okay.
and a draw and maybe a 1 teaspoon of honey to sweeten it, because my kid wasn't having it if I didn't put the honey in it. So,
Uh-huh.
and it actually increases the antioxidant properties in the drink itself. So I tried doing that. It was actually an Ayurvedic friend who introduced me to that. And once my daughter started taking that, I have to tell you, her coughing went down so much. The congestion that was happening inside went down so much, and she was actually using less of inhalers as well, which
Hmm.
is awesome.
Uh-huh. So when you first started doing this research, what were you looking for? Like, because you said like it started because of all the travel, but you addressed the issue in your home. Like what were the clues that you were following? Because I know there's like no, mommy blogging is like a big industry, and there's lots of people giving advice on home care and child care and self care, and it's all over the place. Like how did you figure out like what to try, what to trust? There's so many
Absolutely.
different directions you could have gone.
Absolutely. When I spoke to the doc, the first thing I realized was he didn't really point out something specific that my daughter was having allergies because of, if it's a food allergy, you realize, oh, she's having peanuts, that's a food allergy.
Hmm.
Or if she's going to a plant, if there's a particular plant I bought home, oh, that's because of pollen. So there was not one thing, those allergies were actually rising out of. So that's when I started thinking more about maybe the ventilation is not okay in my house. Maybe, too much central heating is going on. Maybe there's too much air conditioning, all on the time. So that's how I actually started putting the pieces together, and I reduced all the fragrance things in my house,
Hmm.
because I noticed my child coughing more when she was using a particular brand of soap, for example, or a particular brand of toothpaste. But then you can't really start making everything in house, right? You can't really do that. So I started small. For example, one thing I made was the goat milk soap that I made. Uh, Absolutely using simple ingredients and essential oils and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I started noticing improvements. And the second thing which I did was to bring plants into my house. I think that was actually a game changer, a huge one at that, because I was reading research related to NASA. I believe you heard of it.
Yeah.
This was a research done by a couple of scientists. It was led by a team of scientists called the leading scientist was Bob Woolverton. So it was a bunch of scientists. What they did was they actually took a couple of popular houseplants and they kept it in a specific square feet room, and they compared it with another couple of rooms where there were no houseplants, no ventilation, no air conditioning, no central heating. And that's how they figured that the level of VOCs, that is actually the uh, chemicals emitted by the different fragrance products that are in and around the house. It could be from your carpets, it could be from your the things that you're using. And that's how they realize that the presence of plants there actually helps in controlling the dust. It infuses oxygen into the air and controls the carbon dioxide and the other gases that are going on in the house.
And they were doing this research to make space habitable, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They were actually trying to bring the environment in the space more at par with the normal environment that's found in Earth. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's what I think it's wonderful that they, you think of NASA, like if anyone's going to look for a technological solution, like, human ingenuity, let's invent something new. And
Yeah.
to go
Yeah.
to, that's like that, Apollo 13, like where they use duct tape, just like there's something beautifully practical about, hey, let's use plants.
Let's give it a, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Even that's so awesome of them to even think about it, because I was, just connecting it with your book. Uh, I have to say that that's an awesome book that you wrote, Sick to Fit.
oh,
So
thank you.
in that, I still remember the 3 M's approach that you mentioned for
Mhm.
going plant-based.
Right.
The menu, the movement, and the mindset.
Uh-huh.
If I may add a point there, I was actually thinking of adding another M there, Why
Oh,
not
good.
Mother Nature there?
Oh, I love it. I'll always, I was thinking about sleep, but it doesn't start with M, so I didn't put it in.
That's a good one, though.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, right. And we talk about sort of naturally attainable quantities. And of course, we have evolved.
Absolutely.
We have evolved not for boxes, but to be in savannas and temperate zones and
Absolutely.
rainforests where we're going to be bathed in what the plants give off.
And that's how everything originated, right? That's where we all originated from. Everything else is man-made.
Right.
Right. So
beautiful. So yeah, it's funny because when our daughter was very young, 6, 8 months old, she was getting rashes, and that's when my wife became a soap maker. Just to have something where she knew what were the ingredients, she could control. Because we started looking, a lot of soap doesn't have ingredients. I guess it doesn't have to by law. But we started looking online, what's the purest soap you can get? It's like Dove or Ivory. They both have titanium dioxide, right? Which
absolutely
is a paint whitener, right?
And you don't really know what's going inside, right? You don't really know what's going into it.
Right. Whatever makes them a profit is what's going into it.
The cheapest wins.
Right. Because then my wife was like, oh, this is fun. But it's very expensive. I should start selling these. She'd give them away to friends and like, oh my God, this is great. And we did like a little spreadsheet, like how much does it cost per bar of soap? And we're like, good God, it's like $8 a bar cost. And she was like, we bought a little pop-up thing, and she's going to go to a craft fair, and people are looking at us. It's like, why would I buy a bar of soap for $10? Right? Like, nah, I guess you wouldn't, because nobody did. It ended up being just sort of like friends and family and a very in-house niche thing, right? You'd think that making it yourself would be cheaper, but it's generally not.
Because that's the cost of making something good. That's the cost of making something pure, right?
Right.
And the big companies are not going to do that. They just are primarily looking at running a profit-oriented enterprise.
Right. So you mentioned that you're an HR professional and you've worked, U.S., Canada, India, and you also mentioned Ayurveda. And I can hear you have an accent that I'm assuming is Indian. How do they I understand the Western professional. How did Ayurveda influence you? Like, did you grow up with an idea that nature has solutions for us?
Absolutely, Howard. I think what you're saying is so true. Like I just mentioned, everything has actually originated from Mother Nature, right? The food we eat, the moment you say, oh, Yuvika, I want to eat something whole food based. So that's actually an apple coming off a tree, right? That's not
Mm.
a pureed apple, or that's not apple cider vinegar, right? So that's how it works, you know. The more close to nature you are, the healthier we are. The lesser processed stuff we put inside our bodies, in on our bodies, the healthier we are. But then we can't really do everything. We can't do, everything cannot be all good. So something we have to, make compromises, some adjustments we need to make. But then, yes, I have to say that recipe I told you about, the kada, that's actually an Ayurvedic concoction. Yeah.
Hmm.
I read it from a book, yeah, and it's one that my mom used to make when we were young.
Uh-huh.
That's actually like sort of an immunity booster, and specifically in today's times when we have this entire pandemic raging madly all across the world,
Mm.
with no side of a vaccine. Even though I believe UK's just started administering vaccines to their population, I think we have to rely on these age-old remedies because they did work. Otherwise, why would they be so popular?
Right. And certainly, it's complicated with viruses, but certainly with bacteria, where the bacterium is, developing resistance to the to the antibiotics, to the chemical warfare we are raining down on it. Whereas I don't know of any studies of bacteria becoming resistant to natural substances, to holy basil, to ginger, to any of the other, thousands of plants in our pharmacopoeia.
Absolutely. And in terms of even if you look at the life cycle of our ancestors, they lived much longer. They were much healthier than us. They didn't even have these diseases that we have, the lifestyle diseases that we have today.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about houseplants, which has become your area of expertise. So, is there? I understand there's probably different prescriptions and different purposes, but is there one plant that you would say like everyone should have this in their house?
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite, plant for somebody who's just getting started with plants would be pothos. It's also called devil's ivy.
Devil's ivy, and what's the other
Yeah,
name?
golden pothos.
Can you spell that?
It's golden,
Uh-huh.
Golden, golden
Right.
pothos, Pothos.
Is it B or P? Sorry.
P,
B.
Pothos,
Golden, like Bathos.
pothos,
Okay.
Pothos. Yeah,
Okay, great. Or devil, people can look it up with devil's ivy, and I'll go
absolutely,
online and or we'll put links. So you have all this on your website, right?
absolutely,
So we'll put
and
links to that. So for people who aren't going to remember. Okay, so
absolutely.
tell me about golden bothos or devil's ivy. What's good about it?
Uh, the first thing I really like about this is it's a very beginner friendly plant. So if you don't even have a single house plant in your home, or you have 100 in your home, the golden pothos is like the best one to keep. It's the most easiest one, and you know it's it's happy even if you neglect it. If it's happy even
Oh,
if you don't water it for a couple of days.
okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's like a climbing plant. So you could have it up on the walls. You could have a hanging plant basket if you want something uh, prettier for home decor, or if you just want it for the air purifying purpose, making your home healthy, you can even just have a simple potted plant.
Okay. So it purifies the air.
All plants do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So so if all plants do, then like just whatever is easiest or prettiest, like, because are there some plants that are like, superstars, like there's, moringa or kale or like these, supposed superfoods? Are there super plants that like really crank out beneficial substances?
I think one of the plants, which is, it was mentioned in NASA's research as well, is called the spider plant.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an awesome looker as well. It looks gorgeous, but it's actually a lovely house plant to have in your home if you really want to reduce the level of VOCs in your house and infuse more oxygen, because it's known to be one of the most oxygen producing plants out of the entire species.
Okay. Great. And does that correlate with absorption of CO2? Like the more oxygen it
Absolutely.
produces, the more CO2 it takes in?
Absolutely. And the beauty is it works more at night. So if you would like to keep a plant in your bedroom or your dining room, a spider plant is awesome for that.
Okay.
It actually takes in more carbon dioxide at night than it does in the day
Huh.
as compared to other plants. Yeah.
Okay. So now the spider plant I'm thinking of, it's really easy to reproduce it, right? You can just take like a cutting and then just stick that in soil and it'll start growing, like it's like the sort of gift that keeps giving, right?
Absolutely. That you get one spider plant, grow it well and nice, and then you can have 100 plant babies, from the spider plant for free. Just keep propagating them nicely, keep it happy, keep it healthy, keep it in a place. Spider plant loves indirect sunlight, So if I would keep it away from your south window, I would
Okay.
rather keep it on the other side, or maybe if it is in a south facing window, have a blind there or have a curtain there,
Uh-huh.
opposite that. Yeah.
Okay.
Not in direct sunlight. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at my two layer filing cabinet. It's got a wooden top. I think that's where the spider plant should go.
Awesome. It would be awesome for that. And just remember to keep it away if you have pets in your house.
Uh-huh.
Cats like to nibble on spider plants because they have these little pretty, leaves coming out of it.
Uh-huh.
Because it has a very bright foliage,
Mm-hmm.
But even though it's not toxic to cats, but just preferably keep it away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And what about care of the spider plant? So how often, like how first of all, before, like, how do you know when, like, I can kill plants so many different ways, right? So like, I go, oh, this plant needs water and it's drowning, or I just watered it and it's like, how can you tell, how could I learn how to sense what the plant needs or see or observe or measure?
Uh, uh, Whenever I'm having a plant consultation with anybody, I specifically share one thing with them, that it's very important to understand that a plant is a living thing, right? Like we
Right.
are a living thing, a plant is a living thing as well. So if we are nurturing a plant, if we are taking care of a plant, we are in essence taking care of ourselves. But we can actually tell, if I want water, I can tell, how can I have a glass of water? A spider plant can do that. A succulent can't do that, right? They can't really talk like we do.
Uh-huh.
So the best way that I tell everybody to take care of their plant is actually a toothpick test. If you don't
Okay.
really want to use any gadgets, the easiest way is to take a small toothpick. First of all, just put that toothpick into the soil. Just insert half of the toothpick inside the soil.
Okay.
And once you do that, take it out and just look at it. If it is completely dry, there is nothing sticking to the toothpick, the plant needs water. Water it immediately.
Okay.
And if you see something else, you put that toothpick inside the soil, it comes out and it has, soil, the sand, the things that you've used in the soil sticking to it. That means it's good for now. It's happy.
Okay. Gotcha.
Leave it.
Okay. And how would I know if it's waterlogged?
Just actually, what you said, it's a very good thing to do. It's actually once a week. I actually recommend picking up the pot. For example, let me show you this one I have right now. So this is a succulent.
Okay, right.
So if I just pick it up and I see the bottom, if there is water coming out of it, or if there is soil coming out of it, that means the root may have rotted, it may have been overwatered.
Okay.
Another way to check is if the leaves, the edges, they feel droopy or they are browned.
So if they're brown, that's not enough water, and if they're droopy, it's too much?
Droopy also means less water.
Okay. So it sounds like overwatering is the harder thing to notice.
Howard, what a lot of people do is, like, the easiest way to kill a plant is to give too much love to it, give too much water to it.
Uh-huh.
That's like a common thing that a lot of people do. So the key is just to water it right when they need it. Let's give it. Otherwise, it's happy.
So when you go get a plant somewhere, will it have those instructions? Because I feel like when I see a plant, and like, I don't know what they're called, but they have these, I don't even know how to describe the shapes of the leaves, but it's, it's sort of like a fan with a blade. And when they're happy, they're sort of like 90 degrees. And then when they're droopy, they're down like this. And when I see it droopy, I'm like, I have to do like CPR on it. So like, give me a gallon. It needs, like, the more the better. Like how would I know if, like, okay, it's a little dry, it needs water, it's in a quart pot or a 5-gallon pot? Like, is there a rule of thumb or a measurement for how to water it?
The first thing I told you is the toothpick test, right? To find out if it needs water or not. The second thing is put a half a glass of water and see if it goes down, it percolates down, and wait. The water should not be standing in the pot.
Okay.
So you let the water go, and the plant actually absorbs the water. Any excess water is not absorbed after like 10 minutes or so. If it's standing, that means that's overwatering.
Okay, gotcha. So I can't just walk away. I got to sort of be in a relationship with the plant.
Absolutely. Plant care, I tell everyone, is self-care, It's actually self-care. You're actually caring for yourselves when you're caring for a plant at home.
Oh, I think that's the title of this episode, unless you come up with an even better zinger.
So that what you just mentioned, Howard, that was actually a big reason I was getting a lot of questions regarding the overlove that we give to the plants, right? The overwatering and things. So that's the reason why I actually came up with my first houseplant starter kit. That's actually a podcast exclusive that I'm keeping it only for you and the podcast listeners that we have today.
Oh, okay. Cool. So what is it? It's a course or a book?
It's a 20-page ebook.
Okay.
Which has 2 specific sections. It has the 5 easiest houseplants for beginners.
Okay.
With their care cards and a picture of them.
Sweet.
And the other thing it has is the 9 tools that you need for houseplant success.
Okay. And the tools, like things you have to have around the house? Or...
Absolutely. Just the simple ones, having a scoop for pulling the soil out, having a knife for making sure that the plant has loosened enough soil, so that it's not getting a root rot or it needs repotting. So you need the soil to loosen up the soil knife to loosen up the soil. Yeah. And to prune the brown edges of the plants anytime you see that, because to keep it healthy, you need to prune off the brown leaves whenever they occur.
Oh, okay. Cool. So you said plants can't talk. They can't tell you they're thirsty. Do you feel like you have a relationship with your plants nonetheless?
I do. I even have names for them.
Okay.
So
Tell us, yeah, what is that like for someone who's plantless or has plants and thinks of them as just like, furniture you have to take care of? What's it like to have a relationship with a plant?
It's 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 awesome, first of all, because when you're loving a human being, they actually talk back, right? They do. They interact with you. With plants, it's more of a growing thing, and it's just so pure because they're just loving you back. The only thing that you need to do is take care of them.
Hmm.
That's all. You're nurturing them, you're taking care of them. And I can sit around all day looking at my plants. I have more than 100 of them, by the way.
Ah,
So even if you think about how our ancestors were, they were living in those forests before we had all these condominiums come up, before we had these big 10-story buildings and all. Just looking at greenery, just going for a walk in the park, it gives us so much of happiness. It calms your mind, it soothes your nerves, and it just puts your mental health at ease, doesn't it?
mm-hmm. Absolutely. Just, I've one of the books that I podcasted with the author is called The Nature Fix, which is what reminded me of when you talked about Mother Nature as the fourth M. And she talks about like the visuals of plants being fractal, and like our eyes are trained to see that as beautiful, right? I guess
Absolutely.
just as an
That's so
evolutionary,
true.
like, oh, here I am with lots of plants. It must be a nurturing, fertile place that will support me. So we were, evolutionarily, like we see that as beauty, as a way of surviving.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've even been reading about horticultural therapy, which is coming up. It's coming as quite popular because where doctors are actually using and therapists are actually using plants to calm down people. You know,
Mm.
that's they're actually using plants to help people recover from addictions, from mental trauma. You know,
Wow. So it's like pets that won't poop on the floor. Plants are
you
far much.
have those things with plants too. You have the soil. You can have soil all over the place if you're not careful, right? So
But it's your fault. It's not the plant.
yeah, or water. You need to have those furniture protectors if you're, like you said, you are planning to keep one on top of your plant, on
Uh-huh.
top of your books or
Gotcha.
the shelf. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
so I know this is not a beginner question, but it's sort of, like NASA, they were doing very controlled studies with so many square feet and a spider plant. And we recently bought air purifiers for the house because I was concerned, we have a wood burning stove, and I wasn't feeling that well. And with COVID, I really, take, everything I could do. And so we had to go online and kind of size, like, okay, for this square foot room, I need this size, this much airflow, this big a filter. Is there a way of thinking about like how many plants do I need? Like how many spider plants do I need for optimal air quality in a bedroom or a dining room or a house?
So in terms of the square feet, they were mostly thinking about having a couple of about 3 to 4 plants per person in the house. So if you have a 200 square feet room, they were recommending to have around 4 to 5 spider plants of medium height, not very small ones, because they need to have enough foliage as well
Mm-hmm.
to absorb, right, the gases that are there in the home. So, and multiply that number by 2 if you have more people living in the house, because people living in the house also means giving out more carbon dioxide, more VOCs, using more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Gotcha. Uh-huh. All right. So now, so when you said like 4 to 5 in a room, I got this smile on my face, like they're friends with each other. Like I can go out and they'll be fine. Like, am I crazy, or do your plants have like relationships with each other?
what you're saying actually makes sense because, like, like I mentioned, I have more than 100 plants in my house, and I have the similar ones together. So, like
Mm.
you said, oh, if somebody loves coffee, so I've kept them together. So, succulents and cacti have similar care needs. So I have actually grouped them together in my house. So in my 450 square feet terrace garden, I have more than 100 plants where I have succulents and cacti together in one place because their care needs are similar, their watering needs are similar, the amount of light, the sunlight that they need is similar. And then I have the philodendrons and the monsteras. They are the big leafy kinds. They are together. They are tropical loving. They need more moisture. They need more humidity. So they are together. So maybe they are the coffee lovers. They are the tea lovers. So like that. Yeah.
Because we're just starting to learn that plants have intelligence. Right. I mean, Ayurveda has known this, right? Every healing tradition has known this, but Western science is starting to understand that, well, plants don't have central nervous systems, and they don't have brains, but they exhibit intelligent behavior, right? They can move their roots towards the sound of running water. We've seen,
Absolutely.
And they communicate with each other. If one plant is getting chomped on by an infestation, it will not only create chemicals, but it will let its neighbors know. Right. So I wonder, like, there's this maybe this symphony of communication, of aliveness, because I know so many of us don't get out much. We don't see other people right now. We have to stay home. We can feel trapped and lonely and, just repeating Groundhog Day over and over. And I'm wondering if like really or psychologically plants can help us feel like we're part of a community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, they are a living thing, right? Like we are. Human beings are living beings. Plants are also living beings. So if you have a couple of them in your house, you can actually feel the growth that is happening there. Oh, the one day I am looking at my plant, it has a small leaf, the small leaf is coming out of the petiole. That's actually called a petiole. When a small leaf sprouts from there, from the stem. And when it grows big, you come back after 4 days, you're still at home. We are working from home, nobody's going out. And you see, oh, wow, this huge, big new leaf is sprouted. So that's actually the growth happening, right? You realize that a sofa sitting in your house will not grow. The air purifier sitting in your house will not grow. It's a non-living thing. It will stay at the way it is, the way you bought it. Even 5 years down the line, but a little plant that you bought, say 5 months ago, can just grow up and give so much happiness to you if you just pay attention to it.
Gotcha. What about, so we've got water, we've got light. Are there like snacks that you give them? Are there, fertilizers or Job spikes, or like, do you have to feed them other stuff?
Absolutely. So like you mentioned, soil is one thing, right? So in terms of soil, every house plant, when you go to a garden center and you buy it off, let's say Walmart or Target, it comes in a particular soil, right? That typically has the fertilizers, everything inside it. But then when it grows, you need to ideally repot it to a bigger plant, a bigger pot. And when you do that, you should ideally mix it with perlite and coco peat. That's actually awesome for helping plant growth and gives it the right nutrients, which the store soil will not really give you. So that is one thing. The other thing is light is actually one of the most crucial elements to having a thriving plant. When you have light, sunlight, if you have a south-facing window, like you said, if you don't have a south-facing window, a lot of plants are great with indirect sunlight. Indirect sunlight is, you can just put the blind across, you can keep a curtain there, and then have the plant right in front of the window. Or if you don't have let's say you don't have a window in the room, everybody is not blessed with a skylight or a window, right? In each room. In that case, there are grow lights which are available. So if you, let's say you have a plant shelf with 10 plants there, you can easily have a grow light hanging from the top that actually gives the light to them, because grow lights are conditioned to behave like actually direct sunlights. So that's awesome for plants. And the other thing that you need, apart from the water, is the temperature or the level of humidity that is needed for a plant. So it is best if you keep a plant in the most natural environment that it has come from. So let's say the moment you go to a social media platform like Instagram or Facebook, you would notice a lot of monsteras there. It's like a highly trending plant because of its unique
Mhm.
leaf design.
And it's like
So
monster with an A at the end, Monstera.
yeah,
Okay, got it.
yeah. So if you look at the monstera, it's like it needs a temperature which is humid, which is a little bit hot because it's a tropical plant. So the more you can keep it in the environment that it came from, the more it will thrive. So if you have a monstera, Howard, keep it in your plant near your south-facing window. Or if you
Okay.
can't do that, get a grow light for it.
Uh-huh.
And misting is equally important in the winters. In the winters, it's best if you don't water your plants and you mist
Really?
directly to the leaves. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Cool. That's like kind of fun. That's more fun than watering. It's like a when I used to have like a little
It's a
water
sprayer.
pistol.
Absolutely, absolutely. The only thing is it takes a bit more time if you're actually doing it manually,
Hmm.
but I love doing that.
And do you
I
just aim for the
actually love
soil,
doing
or do
that.
you miss the leaves as well?
You missed the stems and you missed the leaves,
Okay.
and that gets absorbed into the plant and it goes into the roots as well.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So my wife had a question for you. She, you know, how some people like adopt stray cats or dogs, or it's like they have a soft heart. She's that with orchids. So we have like all these orchids that people would get, and then they would like, oh, my orchid's dying. And like, I'll take it. And she like brings them back to life. So our living room
That's
is
awesome.
like our orchids, like they're pretty, right? They have the flower, and then you can get
Absolutely.
surprised, and the flower will last for, you know, months. Are they like healthy for you as well? Or are they just, you know, pretty? Do
Yeah,
they do anything for us?
absolutely. Howard, like I told you, all plants are great for us, right?
Okay.
All of them are awesome for us because all of them are actually air purifiers. They are actually doing that job of taking in the carbon dioxide that we humans are emitting and infusing oxygen back into our environment. So that thing they are actually doing, that's built into the DNA of every plant. They are doing that.
Hmm. All right. Good.
And the flower is just the you know the beauty side of it. That's just looks pretty, looks awesome, looks beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. What about water? Like I have a water filter, you know, because I don't want to drink, you know, we have well water here, God, you know, and we have a lot of cows around, so God knows what's going in there. People, when I used to live in the city, there was chlorinated water. Can plants deal with whatever water comes out of your tap, or do you recommend treating it in some way?
You're so right. Uh, you need to give filtered water to plants as much as you can. If it's okay, it's okay if you have a plant sitter at home, you've gone out for a vacation, you've told a friend to take care of your plants, and by mistake they give tap water once or twice a week, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then typically on a regular basis, you should be giving them filtered water.
Okay.
Absolutely. To make them thrive, to keep them happy.
Uh-huh. Gotcha. Um, so I guess the last question that comes to mind is like, where should I buy them? Like we have, you know, when I go buy a hammer, I prefer to go to the local hardware store rather than, you know, Home Depot or Lowe's. But when I walk to Lowe's, like I'm usually depressed when I have to go to Lowe's, right, for home improvement, because it means something's broken, and then
Yeah.
I see over to the right all the plants, and they make me happy, and I want to go bring them home. Like, are those good places? Or you mentioned, you know, Target or Walmart, or should I go to a nursery or get seeds or seedlings? Like, where should I think about optimally sourcing plants from, or just, you know, friends and neighbors and cuttings? How do I get them into my house?
Uh, as a beginner, I would say you can easily pick them up from your nearest garden center, or you could even go to a nursery. I think going to a nursery is actually a wonderful option because the people who are actually working there, they are doing it day in and day out. They are actually knowing how to take care of every plant. So let's say the care for a succulent is so different from a care caring for a philodendron or caring for a monstera. So the people who work day in and day out with plants, they are actually the right people to ask if you have any questions, how much water should I give them? Because where should I keep them ideally to make them thrive? So you can pick up plants from anywhere, but then nurseries and garden centers are, I would say, the best places. Or if you have friends who are generous enough to give you cuttings, that's a wonderful way.
Uh-huh. Yeah, most
Yeah.
people who have plants that can make cuttings want to give them away.
They are so happy to do that. They are making plant babies every day, every week.
Yeah.
And they're happily offering you, lovely, take it. And the best way to keep a cutting is in a glass of water where you can see it, or a pretty glass vase. You can actually see it grow. You can actually see the roots grow, the node from where it grows. You can actually see it grow and then transfer it to a pot.
Oh, wow.
Soil.
That's cool. So you mentioned when you started, you got into this because of your daughter's allergies. I don't know how old she is. I'm curious about her relationship with plants growing up with you.
She's awesome. She's much better now, Howard, after all these changes that I made to her lifestyle in terms of whatever I could do, I did. And today she helps me take care of all the plants. Like I mentioned, I have more than 100 now. So it's not really easy to take care of them on a daily basis. I prefer not, having gadgets all around to water and everything. I prefer doing it myself, a couple every other day. And she happily runs and she has her own small watering can. So whenever I pick up mine, she picks up hers. And that's a very nice relationship, that we teach our kids as well. That touch to be with nature, we are all sitting in our own concrete apartments, homes everywhere, and all cooped up indoors today because of the pandemic. But then reconnecting with nature, bringing nature into our house, the fourth M in your sick to fit, Mother Nature. So I think doing that is actually reconnecting them as well with what is real, what is true, what is pure. So I think that's a wonderful quality to, help our children grow with. That's a wonderful relationship that they will also have growing up.
Yeah, and there's something very real about the feedback you get. Like if you send your kids to school and they do poorly on a test, like it doesn't mean they didn't understand it. It might mean they just took too long or the teacher made a mistake. But like when you're taking care of a plant, it's very real. It's like, in business, like if you make a mistake, you pay for it and you see and you learn. There's something very honest about, oh, my plant died, or, oh, my plant is thriving, that I think was really useful for children to see that they do have agency.
Absolutely. That's actually a growth mindset, right? You're developing that growth mindset in children as well.
Literally.
I have to mention, I read that in your book as well. So, but that's a wonderful thing, whether you do it with your food, you do it with your lifestyle, you do it with your kids. I think that actually holds us in good state as we grow up.
Right. I said I only have one more question, but apparently I lied because I got a couple more. You said you have 100 plants and you name them. How do you choose a name for the plant?
My daughter does.
Okay.
I don't. So a couple of plants I did keep names for, but then she has names for them. So then she'll ask me, Mama, did you water this one? Mama, did you water this one?
So what are your favorite names?
Like one of them is Maya. One of them is Amy. Then she has a friend, Nathan, in school. So she has kept Nathan for one of them. And she says, this is my plant because this is my friend. So she has that relationship with her plants. And then she'll say, that's not Mama's plant, that's my plant. So that's so cool,
Yeah.
Helping her see like that.
Yeah. Do either of you talk to the plants? Like,
she does. She does, yeah.
Do they grow better than yours? Is this a scientific experiment?
I've not really tried that. Need to check it out once. Yeah.
I also sort of heard like plants like certain types of music.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful idea. I'll try that out.
Try
Never
some,
seen that though.
ragas and Mozart and see what they maybe
Maybe
play.
instrumental? Yeah,
Yeah, maybe music from where they are from.
I'll try it out. That's a
Right?
wonderful
So
suggestion.
pan flutes or right, or whistling winds. Awesome.
Maybe.
Cool.
Sounds awesome. I'll try it out.
This has been such a fun conversation, and you have inspired me. Like the minute I get a free minute, I'm going to go and buy too many plants for this office. I can already, hear the conversation that if I lost my mind. But for those, you mentioned a 20-page ebook. Like how for people who want to follow you, who want to look at like your website is just gorgeous. It's a beautiful website, and it's made more beautiful by all the plants. And like, you're doing like design too, right? Like they're part of a big aesthetic. Where can people follow your
Absolutely.
work, find out more, and do all that?
So freshoair.com, that's where I chronicle my journeys, my
Okay.
ideas, all
Okay,
the
so
house
let's
plant inspiration
spell
there.
that. It's Fresh O Air.
Yeah.
So
you
it's
just
fresh air
fresh.
with the letter O in the middle.
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's not like cheapo air, which is where I used to search for cheap flights. So,
Pretty similar. That's in the flight domain. This is in the purifying your home domain.
so freshoair.com.
Yeah.
Okay. And
So
how can people get that ebook?
I'll do one thing. I'll drop it to the show notes. I'll add it to the
Okay.
podcast show notes. I'll share it with you.
Ooh,
That's
it'll be our
actually a
exclusive.
podcast. That's actually a podcast exclusive because that's not available anywhere on the website. So I just thought it would be awesome for listeners to have a resource that they can go back and refer to after listening to the podcast, and actually try it out, because with hundreds and thousands of plants available, you don't really know which one is actually the right one to start with. So I think that could be a helpful resource to start with.
That's awesome. And that's truly a gift, because like, my internet marketing, when I give a gift, it's actually an exchange. It's like, well, you give me your email so I can keep bothering you forever, and I'll give you this thing. But you're just saying, you guys take it and no strings attached.
That's my biggest learning that I got, in my life. And I actually want to share it with other people.
So I gotta ask, like, is this a business? Are you hoping to like support yourself financially with this, or is this just like a fun mission or hobby?
It's grown as something that I've been very passionate with, Howard, and I sincerely hope that I'm able to touch more people with it and able to grow it into a self-sustaining business in the times to come.
Okay. So is there any way that people can support it right now financially, buying anything from you?
Yeah, I do have a Shopify store attached to the website.
Okay.
Where I have a couple of ebooks. All the DIY stuff that I've been making in and around my house, the goat milk soap, the candles without, the wax with the soy candles and everything. All the recipes. I have a book called The Organic Home Expert that's available on the Shopify store.
Okay, good. Because people are going to, get the free thing, and they're going to feel, some of them are going to feel obligated and want to support this to grow. So that's a good way to do it.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I would really want more and more people to have knowledge of this. This is something proactively they can do to control their home, make themselves happier, make their home healthier.
Awesome. So here's a question I like to ask my guests, and I'll spin it for you. The usual question is like, what's some music you have been listening to lately that you really like and you think most people don't know about? And so I'll spin it for you as like, what's the music you're listening to lately you really like and you're going to try out with your plants?
So, like I said, a lot of things that I do with my plant is something my daughter introduces me with. Like I told you that she talks and she has kept those names. There's this song that she's been listening to, though it's not instrumental. She loves it. Maybe I'd like to try that one out. It's called Dynamite by BTS. It's a hip hop kind of song, but she likes it. So maybe I'll try it out.
So that's K-pop, right?
Yeah. So you know
Okay.
that too, huh? You listen to it?
I haven't. I think BTS is like the most famous group in the world now, so they have come onto my fuddy-duddy radar. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, well, like I think it's related to TikTok and like a whole new youth culture. So, all
that's
right,
the next generation. That's what the next generation likes. So why not live with it?
awesome. Dynamite by BTS. Well, I'll find either a YouTube or a Spotify link and throw it into the show notes as well.
Awesome,
So,
awesome.
yeah, so Yuvika, thank you so much. This was such a generous sharing of information. You've inspired me. I hope we inspire a whole new generation of foliophiles. I don't know, leaf lovers. So, and reminding us that we can benefit from plants not just from eating them, but by being in relationship with them and bringing them into our home spaces.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would just like to say one thing that plant care is like self-care. So the moment you nurture them, you care for them, you love them, they love you back.
Mm, beautiful. And you're loving yourself by taking care of them.
Absolutely. There is an
Yeah.
inbuilt need in every human being for nurturing something, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the moment you start sharing that nurturing feeling, the care with your plants, you get it back in return. So that's the most wonderful thing ever.
Beautiful. All right, let's go out there and fill the world with houseplants. So Yuvika I've forgotten now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much for all you do. Everyone should check out freshoair.com. You can grab the show notes for this show. I'm going to make a prediction is going to be, you know what? I want to say it out loud. So I'm just going to quickly look up what episode this is going to be. It will be episode 442, which is, by coincidence, the vibrations per second of a concert A.
Oh, wow.
In music, the true A is 440, but musicians found that it sounded a little bit brighter, slightly higher. So 442, playyourself.com/442 is all about improving the vibrations in your life through houseplants. So Yuvika, thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking with you.
Same here, Howard. It's been a pleasure, and I really, really hope that the podcast listeners enjoy the episode and they learn a lot.
Me too. Thanks a lot.
Have a great
Okay.
day.
You too.
Thank you, Howard.